Good morning, everybody. My name's Jackie Dunne. I'm Deputy Vice-Chancellor for Access and Lifelong Learning here at the University of Wolverhampton, and I'm delighted to welcome you all here today to the Learning Age Conference, the Learning Age 20 Years On, at the University here in our fairly newly refurbished Chancellor's Hall. So just before we move on to the programme for today, just a few words of introduction from me really, and a little bit about the university and today's event. The University of Wolverhampton's roots go back to 1827 and the Wolverhampton Mechanics Institute. So we have a long history of providing vocational and professional education, and you can see some of that history demonstrated in the room we're in today. Our mission here is inextricably rooted in our place, and our place is Wolverhampton, the Black Country and the wider West Midlands. Our commitment to that place is relentless, and I would say runs through everything we do here, like the words through the middle of a piece of rock. Our job in that place is to ensure that every student that passes through this university can go as far as their talent and hard work will allow them to go, whatever came before, whatever their background, wherever they came from. In terms of lifelong learning, we've seen a whole raft of policy developments over the year, and we're going to hear shortly from David Blunkett and from Alan. We've seen Deering in 1997, Blunkett's Learning Age, through to Leach, Brown, and a whole raft of lifelong learning-oriented policy. But I think over the past, in recent years, there's been a real vacuum in terms of policy around lifelong learning. We've seen very little. There's also, at the same time, in parallel to that, been a steady draining of funding across all sectors in relation to adult education. So we find ourselves in a particular place. I think, though, the recent industrial strategy, which I know will be on your agenda later today, does start to give some mention again to lifelong learning, and perhaps provides a platform that we can use to start thinking about how we reinvent the dialogue around lifelong learning, skills, and some of those things. As universities, I think we all need to ask ourselves two important questions. One of them is, as a university, what are we good at? And here at the University of Wolverhampton, we try to focus on our strengths. One of those is very much about lifelong learning, it's about skills, and it's about employability. And we're very proud that last year and the year before, in fact, 96% of our students were in employment within 6 months of leaving us. So it's about what we're good at and our strengths. The second question that's perhaps more pertinent to today's discussion is to ask ourselves what we're good for. What is this university good for? And I would say that that is about our place. It's about social mobility, it's about economic development, and it's about social regeneration. What can we do as a university to make a contribution to those things? So in this region, our place is Wolverhampton, the Black Country and beyond. We work in a region where there's low attainment in schools, there's high unemployment levels, and we have some of the highest levels of adults with no qualifications in the country. Of the 22,000 students we serve, 75% of them come from within a 25-mile radius, which gives you a sense of why our place is so important. We take responsibility for making that place a better place to live for everyone, and in that we strongly recognise the transformational power of learning, of lifelong learning, not just for individuals but for their families and for future generations. So how do we go about doing that here? We do it in a myriad of ways. I'm not going to go through them all today, but we sponsor 15 schools as a university, and we take responsibility for school attainment. We are expanding a network of regional learning centres in Stafford, in Telford, in Hereford, so taking learning out to where people are. Our part-time numbers have grown. They've grown in the past few years despite national downward trends. And the age of our students generally is increasing year on year. But there's more to do. And today's conference is really important. It's an important opportunity to debate some of the issues individually and collectively, what can we all do to make sure that there are two things for individuals: choice and entitlement around lifelong learning. So before I finish, I'd just like to obviously thank everybody for coming. It's great to see so many people here and so many friends from the lifelong learning community nationally. I'd like to thank everybody who's been involved in organising today, but particularly I think it's pertinent for us to thank Alan Tuckett, who's here today, who has led the organisation of today's event. And it's particularly timely because I'm sure you'd all want to join me in congratulating him on his recent knighthood. So, Alan, we are very proud of your achievement. He's annoyed with me now, I can tell. But I think to let today go past without recognising the many years that Alan has dedicated to ensuring there's a voice for adult learners would not be the right thing to do. So thank you, Alan, for everything that you do. Okay, so without further ado, I'm aware you've got a very busy agenda. We've got a great lineup of speakers. I hope you all have a fantastic day here in Wolverhampton and go away with some new perspectives, some new ideas about how we're all going to take this forward. And so I'm going to pass over to Alan, who's going to chair the next session. Thank you, Alan.
Thank you, Jackie. I have a double apology now because David Blunkett insisted on talking about this too, and I can't change the text now, so excuse me.